All right, last year for Christmas, I made matching cutting boards for my mom and my aunt and my sister. And let's just say they were a big hit. So this year for Father's Day, I thought I'd take some of the offcuts from those cutting boards and make some coasters for my stepdad and my brother-in-law and my uncle. Because, you've got it laying around, why not use it? So figured coasters would be a good idea. We're going to cut these into 1-inch strips so that they're nice and square, and get to work on the table saw. Okay, so I know that I want my squares on the coasters to be an inch across, or an inch square rather. And I know that my material is 5 inches across. So I'm going to take my calipers, I'm going to measure it to 1 1/8 inches to account for the kerf of my saw blade. And that'll give me 1-inch strips as I run these through the table saw. My last rip cut on here, the piece is really, really small. And I had recorded an audio with the bigger piece before I made the cut, but I forgot to turn the microphone on, so I'm re-recording it. So you just get stuck with the small piece. Anyway, I'm using a feather board to keep my fingers away from the blade. What this does is it fits right here in the miter slot and puts lateral pressure onto whatever piece that you're cutting as you're sliding it through the blade. And that keeps your fingers away and keeps the piece stable so that you don't get any kickback, because softy fingers, spinny Sharpie, no bueno, it's not good. So keep this on hand. I'll have a link to the one that I have down in the description below if you don't have one. Everyone that has a table saw should have at least one feather board. Safety first, kids. All right, so now that we've got our strips cut, I'm gonna glue them up together using a couple of clamps and some Titebond 3. This is a waterproof glue that any condensation that comes off of the your glass when you put it on the coaster, it's not gonna affect the seam. So let's get this glue up done. Okay, so now that the glue's dry, we can go ahead and smooth it out. I'm just going to run these through my thickness planer a couple of times and kind of even things out. Then I'm going to cut slices that are the same width as the individual boards here so that I can glue it together in a checkerboard pattern. It'll make a lot more sense when you actually see what I'm doing. So. All right, kids, hot take. Whenever you're gonna glue up, don't skip the details. I skipped the details on my first round of glue ups on this, and you get smiling coasters. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a big bow in it right here because I'm a moron and I tried to take shortcuts. Don't take shortcuts, do it right the first time. Oh, what is doing it right the first time? Glad you asked. So, I cut these scraps of wood that are going to act as cawls, and I will clamp them like this so that when I'm squeezing this way, the wood doesn't bow. I'm going to clamp them like that, And you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, before we get to the actual glue up, you see here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's all these little frayed ends here off where I did the cross cuts on the table saw. I'm just gonna take a little bit of 120 grit sandpaper and sand that off so that we have a nice even glue seam. Any of the tear out that's on there, whoa, there's a great big wasp that just flew over there. Hey buddy. Holy crap, I think I'm being invaded. Hold please. Oh, that's dealt with. Any of the tear out that's on here is going to be very minimal, and I'm going to be sanding it down flush anyway, so shouldn't be a big deal. But we need to have a nice clean surface for the glue to stick. So let's get to it. Okay, so I let these set up in the clamps overnight. The glue is fully cured, and time to unclamp them and see how we did. So, I think I'm doing this right, I thought. What? Well, that figures. Okay, so I need your help. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom. I'm going to get these out of the clamps, and while I'm doing that, hit that like, share this video amongst all your friends, and then hit the bell for all the notifications so that you see every time that I upload stuff, and this doesn't happen in the future. Get on it. I'm going to get on this. We'll do it. Now, do it. Okay, I've got them rough sanded down to about 120 grit on the belt sander, and now that they're all flush and smooth and nice and pretty, I'm going to finish sanding them with my random orbit sander with some 220 grit. Once I get those done, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of spray lacquer and let that cure, and then I'll fine sand it with some 320 grit, and then hit it with a couple more coats of the spray lacquer, and then we'll be all set. So, let's get to it. Well, they are done, and they are amazing. I could not be more thrilled with how these things turned out. Are they perfect? No, far from it. There's lots of flaws that only I can really tell because I know what it was supposed to look like in my head. But that's the point of this. I'm learning. We're all learning together. This was the first time that I ever did a glue up like this, and I learned a lot. If you want to know a lot of the lessons learned that I had, check out my Patreon page. I have a lessons learned video that I'll be putting up on there in about a week or so. That should be up there. So Father's Day went off without a hitch. These were a big success. That's going to do it for me on this project. I'm going to get started on the next. In the meantime, folks, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, bell notification, share the video, all the good stuff that YouTube likes for you to do. In the meantime, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay safe. We'll see you next time.